Akosua's knees hit the marble floor so hard she felt the pain shoot up her legs, but she didn't care. The man standing in front of her, this stranger in expensive shoes, was her last hope. Her voice cracked as the words tore from her throat. "Please save my daughter." She didn't know his name, didn't know if he had a heart beneath that cold expression. All she knew was that 3 floors below them, her 8-year-old baby girl was dying, and the doctors had stopped trying to save her. Akosua's knees hit the cold marble floor before she even realized what she was doing. Her breath came in short gasps. The security guard behind her was shouting something in Korean she didn't understand, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered except the man standing 3 feet in front of her, briefcase in hand, staring down at her with an expression she couldn't read. "Please," she said, her voice cracking. "Please save my daughter." The hallway went silent. Even the security guard stopped mid-grab, his hand hovering over her shoulder. Kang Jun-seo didn't move, his dark eyes fixed on her face, calculating, measuring, deciding something she couldn't guess. 10 seconds passed. 20. The only sound was the hum of the air conditioning and Akosua's ragged breathing. "Stand up," he said finally. His voice was quiet, not unkind, just factual. Akosua's legs shook as she rose. Her cleaning uniform, the same one she'd been wearing for 16 hours straight, felt suddenly too tight. She could smell the disinfectant on her hands, see the comparison between her worn sneakers and his polished black shoes. "Your name," he said. "Akosua Mensah." Her accent made the Korean honorifics clumsy. "My daughter, she's here, in this hospital. They stopped. I don't know why they stopped helping her." Jun-seo's assistant, a young woman with perfectly applied lipstick, stepped forward. "Sir, your 4 o'clock meeting." He held up one hand without looking at her. His eyes stayed on Akosua. "Which floor?" "Pediatric ICU, 5th floor. Room 512. He nodded once, then walked past her. His shoulder nearly brushed hers. Akosua turned, watching him disappear into the elevator, her heart hammering so hard she thought she might collapse right there. The security guard grabbed her arm. "You can't do that. You understand? Big trouble." But Akosua barely heard him, because for the first time in 3 days, someone had listened. "Let me take you back to where this all started, 6 days earlier, when Akosua's biggest worry was making rent and not whether her daughter would live to see her 9th birthday. The alarm went off at 4:30 in the morning. Akosua slapped it silent before the second beep. Muscle memory from years of not wanting to wake Amma. The apartment was dark, cramped, the kind of place where you could touch both walls if you stretched your arms out. But it was theirs. That mattered. She dressed in the dark, blue cleaning uniform, company logo stitched on the pocket. Her second uniform, the caregiver one, was already packed in her bag for the shift that started at noon. 4 hours of sleep between jobs wasn't ideal, but it was enough. It had to be. Before leaving, she stopped by Amma's sleeping mat. Her daughter was curled on her side, one hand under her cheek, breathing soft and even. 8 years old. Perfect. The most perfect thing Akosua had ever made. She pressed a kiss to Amma's forehead and left. The subway was full of other early morning workers, cleaners, bakers, and delivery drivers. The invisible people who made Seoul run before the sun came up. Akosua found a seat in the corner and closed her eyes, not sleeping, just resting. 30-minute commute. She'd learned to make it count. Hanseong Medical Center rose up from the street like a glass giant. Akosua had been cleaning its executive wing for 2 years now. She knew which offices belonged to which doctors, which conference rooms got used, and which bathrooms needed extra attention. She knew the building better than the people who worked there during the day knew it. Her supervisor handed out assignments without looking up. 6th floor, all executive offices, Finish by 8. Akosua nodded and took her cart. The 6th floor was always quiet, expensive quiet, the kind of silence that came from thick carpet and heavy doors. She started with the bathrooms, then moved to the offices, emptying trash bins, wiping desks, and vacuuming. In one office, someone had left their family photo face down. In another, an empty wine bottle sat in the recycling, little pieces of other people's lives. She was dusting the conference room when she found the newspaper. Someone had left it open to the business section. The headline read, "Kang Jun-seo, named CEO of Hansung Medical Group." Below it, a photo. A man in his late 30s, handsome in that sharp-featured way, looking at the camera like he was already bored with it. Akosua didn't give it much thought. Rich men becoming richer wasn't news to her. She finished at 7:45, clocked out, and took the subway back home. Amma would be waking up soon. Her daughter was already awake when she got there, sitting at their small table, drawing in her notebook. She looked up when Akosua entered, her whole face brightening. "Mama." "Good morning, my sweet girl." Akosua dropped her bag and pulled Amma into a hug, breathing in the smell of her hair. "What are you drawing?" "Our house, but bigger." Amma held up the notebook. She'd drawn a house with a garden, flowers, a tree. "When I grow up and get a job, I'll buy you a house like this." Akosua's throat tightened. "You're already giving me everything I need." They had breakfast, rice, and eggs. Then Akosua helped Amma get ready for school. Uniform, backpack, lunchbox. The same routine they'd done 1,000 times. "Mama, my chest feels tight again," Amma said as Akosua braided her hair. Akosua's hands paused. "Like before?" "A little bit. It's okay, though." It wasn't okay. Amma had been having episodes for 3 months now. Shortness of breath, chest pain, fatigue. They'd been to the local clinic twice. Both times the doctor said it was probably asthma, prescribed an inhaler, and sent them home. But the inhaler didn't help. "We'll go to the doctor again this week," Akosua promised. "You said that last week." "I know, baby, I know." What she didn't say was that the clinic visit cost money they didn't have, that she was already behind on rent, that her caregiver's job barely covered food and Amma's school supplies, that she was tired, so tired, and didn't know how to fix this. But Amma just smiled and hugged her. "It's okay, Mama. Don't worry." 8 years old and already trying to protect her mother. Akosua's heart broke a little bit more. She dropped Amma at school and made it to her caregiver job by noon. 4 hours of helping an elderly Korean woman bathe, eat, and move around her apartment. The woman's daughter barely acknowledged Akosua, just left money on the counter and disappeared. That was fine. Acknowledgement didn't pay bills. At 4:30, Akosua picked Amma up from school. That's when everything changed. The teacher met her at the gate, face pale. "Mrs. Mensah, Amma collapsed during recess. We called an ambulance." The world tilted. Before you find out what happens next, do me a quick favor. If you're feeling this story so far, just drop a comment below, telling me where you're listening from. I love knowing who's riding along with Akosua and me on this journey. All right, let's get back to it. The ambulance was already there. Akosua ran across the playground, her bag hitting her hip with every step. Amma was on a stretcher, oxygen mask over her small face, eyes closed. "Amma, Amma, baby, I'm here." Akosua grabbed her daughter's hand. Amma's eyes fluttered open. "Mama," she whispered, "I'm right here. You're going to be okay." The paramedic said something in rapid Korean. Akosua caught maybe half the words. Hospital. Heart. Tests. Hurry. She climbed into the ambulance, holding Amma's hand so tight she was afraid she might hurt her, but unable to let go. The ride was a blur. Sirens, traffic, Amma's pale face, the paramedic checking monitors that beeped in rhythms Akosua didn't understand. They pulled up to Hansong Medical Center. Of all the hospitals in Seoul, the ambulance brought them to the one where Akosua cleaned toilets every morning. The emergency room was chaotic. Doctors and nurses moved like a choreographed dance. Someone pulled Akosua aside and shoved forms at her. She signed without reading, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the pen. "Insurance?" the clerk asked. I have basic coverage, through my work." The clerk typed something, frowned. "This may not cover all procedures. We'll need to verify. Just help her, please. I'll pay. I'll figure it out." They took Amma through double doors. A nurse stopped Akosua from following. "You wait here. Doctor will come talk to you." The waiting room was cold. Akosua sat in a plastic chair, still in her caregiver uniform, and prayed to every god she'd ever heard of. An hour passed. 2 hours. Finally, a doctor emerged. Young, professional, tired-looking. "Mrs. Mensah, I'm Dr. Kim. Your daughter is stable for now. We've run some preliminary tests. Her heart rhythm is irregular. We need to do more imaging, possibly a cardiac catheterization to determine the cause. Will she be okay? We're doing everything we can. She'll be moved to the pediatric ICU for monitoring." It wasn't an answer, but it was all Akosua was going to get. They let her see Amma once she was settled in room 512. Her daughter looked so small in the hospital bed, wires and tubes connected to her like she was a machine that needed charging. But she was awake, and she smiled when she saw Akosua. "Mama, the bed moves up and down. Watch." She pressed a button, and the top half of the bed lifted slightly. Akosua laughed, surprising herself. Very fancy. "Am I going to be okay?" "Yes, baby. Yes, you are." She had to believe it. The alternative wasn't possible. The first day passed. Doctors came and went, speaking medical terms Akosua didn't fully understand. Congenital heart defect. Possible surgical intervention. More tests needed. Amma was brave through all of it, braver than any 8-year-old should have to be. On the second day, things got quieter. Fewer doctors, fewer updates. When Akosua asked questions, she got vague answers. "We're reviewing her case. The cardiologist will be by soon. We need to consult with the team." But no one came. By the third day, Akosua knew something was wrong. She cornered a nurse in the hallway. "Why has no one seen my daughter since yesterday morning?" The nurse looked uncomfortable. "I don't have information on that. You'll need to speak with the attending physician." "I've been trying to. No one will talk to me." "I'm sorry. I really don't know." Akosua wanted to scream. Instead, she went back to Amma's room and sat by her bedside, holding her hand while her daughter slept. That evening, she went looking for answers. The hospital at night was a different place. Quieter, dimmer. Akosua walked the hallways, not sure what she was looking for, just unable to sit still anymore. She passed the nurse's station, the family waiting room, the vending machines. Then she heard voices coming from an office with a partially open door. "The imaging shows clear progression, but given the insurance situation, we can't proceed without financial clearance. Legal made that very clear after the last incident. So we just, what? Let her deteriorate? We stabilize and transfer, that's protocol." Akosua's blood went cold. They were talking about Amma. They had to be. She pushed the door open. 2 doctors looked up, startled. One of them was Dr. Kim. The other was older, gray hair, expensive watch. "You're talking about my daughter," Akosua said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Amma Mensah, room 512. The older doctor's expression closed off immediately. "This is a private consultation. You can't be here. Why aren't you helping her? You said you'd run tests. You said—" "Mrs. Mensah," Dr. Kim interrupted, and he actually looked sorry. There are financial considerations we need to resolve before we can proceed with advanced treatment. We're working with the billing department to find a solution." "Financial considerations," Akosua repeated. "She's 8 years old. She's dying. You're telling me money is more important than her life?" The older doctor stood. "We are providing appropriate care within the parameters of her insurance coverage. If you're unhappy with that, you're welcome to transfer her to another facility." "She's too sick to move. You said that yesterday." "Then I suggest you work with our billing department to arrange payment for additional procedures." He walked out, brushing past her like she was nothing, like she was invisible. Dr. Kim, at least, had the decency to look ashamed. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I really am." Then he left too. Akosua stood in the empty office, shaking with rage and fear and helplessness. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat in the chair next to Alma's bed, listening to the monitor's beep, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall, and tried to figure out what to do. She had exactly $300,001 in her bank account. Not nearly enough for whatever treatment Alma needed. She could ask her employer for an advance, but she was already in debt to them from last month's emergency. She could try to borrow from other Ghanaian families in Seoul, but they were all struggling too. She could scream, she could cry, she could give up, or she could fight. At 6 in the morning, Akosua made a decision. She'd seen the newsletter, the email sent to all hospital staff, including contract cleaners. "Join us in welcoming our new CEO, Kang Jun-seo." There was a photo, a brief bio, mentions of his family's medical empire, his reputation for turning around failing hospitals. A man with power. Real power. Akosua left Alma with a nurse she trusted, promising to be back soon. Then she went down to the lobby, found the building directory, and took the elevator to the 6th floor. The executive wing. The same hallway she'd cleaned 100 times. But now she was here during business hours, in her dirty clothes, without permission, without a plan, with nothing but desperation pushing her forward. The secretary at the front desk stood immediately. "Excuse me, you can't be here. This area is restricted. I need to see Kang Jun-seo. You need an appointment." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but then I'm afraid you'll have to leave." A security guard was already approaching. Akosua saw her window closing. She ran. Past the secretary, past the guard's shout of surprise. Down the hallway toward the corner office she'd dusted 1,000 times. The door was closed. She didn't care. She reached for the handle. The guard caught up, grabbed her arm. "Stop! You can't—" The door opened, and there he was. Kang Jun-seo, in person, taller than she expected, sharper, real in a way the photo hadn't captured. He looked at her, then at the guard, then back at her. Akosua didn't think. She just dropped to her knees. "Please," she said, "please save my daughter." Which brings us back to where we started. To Akosua on the cold marble floor, to Jun-seo's unreadable expression, to the moment everything shifted. After he walked away, after the security guard escorted her firmly but not roughly back to the elevator, after she returned to Alma's room with no idea if anything would change, Akosua sat down and waited. An hour passed. Then Dr. Kim appeared in the doorway. He looked different, surprised, confused. "Mrs. Mensah," he said carefully, "we've been cleared to proceed with all necessary tests and treatments for Alma, effective immediately." Akosua stood slowly. "What?" I'm not sure what happened, but the financial hold has been lifted. We can do the cardiac catheterization this afternoon." "I don't understand." Dr. Kim shook his head. "Neither do I. The order came from administration, top level." He paused. Do you know someone?" Akosua thought of the man in the hallway, the way he'd looked at her, the single word he'd said. "Stand up." "I don't know," she said honestly. But 2 hours later, when a team of cardiologists came to explain the procedure to her in detail, when they wheeled Amma away with reassurances and actual compassion, when the head nurse told her they'd moved Amma to a private room after the surgery for better monitoring, Akosua started to suspect. Someone had intervened. Someone had made a phone call. Someone had decided her daughter's life was worth saving. The surgery took 4 hours. Akosua paced the waiting room, prayed, paced some more. When Dr. Kim finally emerged, he was smiling. She did great. We found the issue, a congenital defect in one of her heart valves. We were able to repair it. She'll need monitoring and follow-up. But Mrs. Mensah, I think she's going to be fine. Akosua's legs gave out. She sat down hard in the nearest chair and burst into tears. Amma woke up groggy but alive, so beautifully alive. Akosua held her hand and whispered promises and thank yous until her voice went hoarse. It was late evening when the nurse mentioned, almost casually, "Oh, the CEO stopped by earlier. While Amma was in surgery, he didn't stay, just asked for an update." Akosua's heart did something complicated. "The CEO," she repeated. "Mr. Kang, unusual for him to check on individual patients. You must have made an impression." After Amma fell asleep, after the nurses finished their evening rounds, Akosua stepped out into the hallway. She didn't plan to go anywhere specific, but somehow her feet carried her to the elevator, to the 6th floor. The executive wing was mostly dark now. Only a few offices still had lights on, including the corner office. Akosua stood outside the glass door, watching Kang Junseo work at his desk. He was alone, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, focused on his computer screen. He looked, she realized, tired. Not physically tired, something deeper. She raised her hand to knock, then hesitated. What would she even say? "Thank you" felt too small. "Why did you help me" felt too intrusive. Before she could decide, he looked up. Their eyes met through the glass. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then he stood and opened the door. "Mrs. Mensah," he said. Not a question, just acknowledgement. "I wanted to thank you," Akosua said, "for whatever you did, for my daughter. The doctors did the work, but you made them do it." He didn't deny it, just studied her face with that same calculating expression from the hallway. "Your daughter's name is Amma," he said. "Yes, it's a nice name. It means born on Saturday." "And was she?" "Yes." The corner of his mouth moved. Not quite a smile, but close. "You should go back to her," he said. "Visiting hours end soon." It was a dismissal, gentle but clear. Akosua nodded and turned to leave. "Mrs. Mensah." She looked back. "You didn't have to kneel," he said quietly. "You could have just asked." Before she could respond, he closed the door. Akosua rode the elevator back down, her mind spinning. There was something in the way he'd said it. Not cruel, not even cold. Just factual. Like he was correcting a misunderstanding. She didn't know what to make of Kang Junseo. But as she settled back into the chair next to Amma's bed, watching her daughter sleep peacefully for the first time in days, she thought maybe she didn't need to understand him. Maybe it was enough that he'd listened. The next morning brought new complications. Amma was improving, which was everything. But the hospital stay was extending. 3 more days minimum, the doctors said. Then home care, medications, follow-up appointments. All of it necessary. None of it covered by Akosua's basic insurance. The billing department sent someone to discuss payment plans. A woman in her 40s, professional smile, tablet in hand. "Mrs. Mensah, let's talk about your balance." She turned the tablet around. The number on the screen made Akosua's vision blur. 15,000,001. This can't be right, Akosua managed. Surgery, ICU care, medications, specialist consultations. It adds up quickly. Now, your basic insurance covered about 20%. The remaining balance is your responsibility. I don't have this money. I could never. We offer payment plans. If you can make a down payment of $3 million, we can structure monthly installments over 5 years. $3 million. Akosua made less than $2 million a month, combined from both her jobs. I need time, she said desperately. I need to figure out. Of course. Take a few days. But we will need a financial commitment before discharge. After the woman left, Akosua sat very still, trying not to panic in a way that would scare Amma. Her daughter was watching her with 2 wise eyes. Mama, is it about money? Don't worry about that, baby. I heard that lady. 15 million is a lot. Amma, maybe I don't need all the medicine. Maybe we can go home sooner. Akosua pulled her into a careful hug, mindful of the IV lines. You're getting all the medicine. We're staying as long as the doctors say. I'll figure it out. But she had no idea how. That afternoon, Akosua made calls. First to her cleaning job supervisor. I need the week off. Family emergency. The woman's voice was flat. You already missed 3 days. If you miss a full week, we'll have to replace you. Please, my daughter is in the hospital. I'm sorry about that. But I have a schedule to maintain. If you're not back by Monday, don't bother coming back at all. The line went dead. Akosua sat there, phone in hand, doing the math. Losing one job meant losing half her income. But Amma needed her here. There was no choice. She called her caregiver job next. That conversation went slightly better. The elderly woman's daughter agreed to 1 week unpaid leave, but no more. So, 1 week to figure out how to pay 15 million and keep her remaining job. Akosua laughed, a bitter sound that made the nurse passing by glance at her with concern. She was trying to figure out her next move when someone knocked on the doorframe. Kang Jun-seo stood there, hands in his pockets, looking completely out of place in the pediatric ward. Akosua straightened in her chair. Amma, who'd been coloring, looked up curiously. Mr. Kang, Akosua said, suddenly very aware of how rumpled she must look. She'd been wearing the same clothes for 2 days. I hope I'm not interrupting. His eyes moved to Amma. You must be the Saturday girl. Amma giggled. That's me? Who are you? Someone who works here. Are you a doctor? No. I just make sure the doctors have what they need to help people. Oh, that's important too, I guess. The corner of his mouth twitched. I guess it is. He pulled something from his jacket pocket. A book. Not a kid's book, Akosua noticed, but a proper novel. The cover showed a girl climbing a mountain. The nurse mentioned you like reading, he said, handing it to Amma. Amma's eyes went huge. This is in English. Mama, look, it's in English. I see that, baby. Amma immediately opened it and started reading, already half forgetting the adults in the room. Jun-seo met Akosua's eyes. Could I speak with you for a moment? Outside? Akosua's stomach tightened. She nodded and followed him into the hallway. He walked a few feet away from the door, far enough that Amma wouldn't hear, then turned to face her. The billing department spoke with you, he said. Not a question. How did you know? I know everything that happens in this hospital. There was no arrogance in the statement, just fact. Then you know I can't pay, Akosua said. She was too tired to be embarrassed. 15 million might as well be 15 billion. The charges are standard for the procedures performed. I'm not arguing that. I'm just stating reality. I can't pay it. He studied her face. What will you do? I don't know yet, but I'll figure something out. I always do. Always. I've been taking care of us for 8 years, alone. We're still here. So yes, always. Something shifted in his expression. Where is her father? Gone. He left when I was pregnant. Haven't seen him since. She said it matter-of-factly, the way you'd report the weather. It's just us. Junseo was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer. That must be difficult. It's life. You do what you have to do. And what you have to do right now is find 15 million won. Apparently. He reached into his jacket again, pulled out a business card. My assistant's direct number. Call if you need anything. Akosua took the card, confused. Why are you helping me? You asked me to. I asked you to save my daughter. You did that. You don't owe me anything else. Maybe I want to help. Why? He looked at her for a long moment. You asked differently than most people ask me for things. I was on my knees. That's not what I meant. He paused. Most people who ask me for favors spend 10 minutes explaining why they deserve it, why they're important, why I should care. You just asked. No justification. No performance. Just honesty. Akosua didn't know what to say to that. Keep the card, he said, in case you need it. Then he walked away, leaving Akosua standing in the hallway, holding a business card and wondering what just happened. Over the next 2 days, a strange pattern developed. Junseo would appear, briefly, at random times. Never for long. Never with fanfare. He'd check on Ama's progress with the doctors, exchange a few words with Akosua, then leave. He brought another book, then a puzzle. Once, he brought fancy fruit, the expensive kind sold in department stores, each piece individually wrapped. Ama was delighted by all of it. Mama, is Mr. Kang your friend? I don't know what he is, baby. I think he's nice. He doesn't talk to me like I'm little. That was true. Junseo spoke to Ama the same way he spoke to everyone, directly and without condescension. Ama responded to it, blooming under his quiet attention. Akosua watched these interactions with a mix of gratitude and confusion. This man was the CEO of a medical empire. He had 1,000 responsibilities. Yet here he was, spending time with a sick 8-year-old and her broke mother. It didn't make sense. On the 3rd day, Akosua decided to ask him directly. She found him in the hospital garden, sitting on a bench, checking his phone. It was late evening, past visiting hours, but the nurses had stopped enforcing that rule for Akosua days ago. Mr. Kang, she said. He looked up, not startled, like he'd been expecting her. Mrs. Mensah. Can I sit? He gestured to the bench. Akosua sat, leaving a careful distance between them. Why are you doing this? She asked. Sitting in the garden? You know what I mean. The books, the visits, all of it. Why? He was quiet for a moment, watching the small fountain in the center of the garden. Do you know how many people ask me for things every day? He said finally. A lot, I imagine. At least 30. Favors, donations, investments, introductions. Everyone wants something. And I'm just another person wanting something. No. He turned to look at her. You're the only person who's ever asked me while looking like you'd rather die than have to ask at all. Akosua blinked. Everyone else, they're comfortable asking, he continued. Entitled to it, even. But you looked like it was killing you. Like kneeling in front of me was the worst thing you'd ever had to do. It was pretty high on the list, Akosua admitted. And yet you did it. For your daughter. No hesitation. He paused, searching for words. That's not something I see often. You'd do the same, if you had a child. I don't know if I would. I'd like to think so, but I honestly don't know. There was something in his voice, something lonely. Akosua found herself asking, Do you have family? Parents? A younger sister? We're not close. Why not? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. They see me as a business asset. I see them the same way. It's efficient. It's sad. Is it? Yes. Family should be more than efficient. Like you and Amma. Like me and Amma, Akosua agreed. She's my whole world. Junseo watched her face. What will you do when she's discharged? Back to the impossible question. Akosua sighed. I'll set up a payment plan. Work extra shifts somehow. Maybe borrow from, I don't know. I'll figure it out. You keep saying that. I'll figure it out. Because I will. I don't have another option. You could accept help. I already accepted help. You saved my daughter's life. That's more than enough. But not enough to actually solve your problem. Akosua turned to him. Why do you care? Really? You're a CEO. I clean toilets in your building. We live in completely different worlds. So why do you care if I can pay my hospital bill? He held her gaze. Maybe I'm tired of my world. The honesty of it hung between them. Before Akosua could respond, her phone rang. The hospital's main number. Her heart jumped. Hello? Mrs. Mensah, this is Nurse Park. Amma's asking for you. She's fine, just wants her mom. I'll be right there. She stood quickly. Junseo stood too. Thank you, Akosua said, for being honest with me. You make it easy. She didn't know what to do with the way he was looking at her, so she just nodded and hurried back inside. But that night, lying on the cot the nurses had brought in for her, listening to Amma's peaceful breathing, Akosua replayed the conversation in her head. Maybe I'm tired of my world. What did that mean? The next morning brought a new crisis. Akosua was helping Amma eat breakfast when two men in suits appeared at the door. One of them was the older doctor from before, the one who'd talked about financial clearance. The other was unfamiliar, 50-something, with the look of someone used to being in charge. Mrs. Mensah, the unfamiliar man said. I'm Dr. Park, hospital administrator. Could we speak privately? Akosua's stomach dropped. About what? It would be better to discuss in private. She looked at Amma, who had stopped eating, picking up on the tension. It's okay, Mama, Amma said quietly. Akosua followed the men into an empty consultation room. The administrator closed the door. Mrs. Mensah, there's been a review of your daughter's case, he began. A review? Standard procedure. And we've discovered some irregularities in her treatment timeline. The older doctor shifted uncomfortably. What kind of irregularities? Akosua asked. Dr. Park cleared his throat. It appears there was a delay in diagnosis when your daughter was first admitted. The initial imaging showed clear signs of the cardiac defect, but it wasn't flagged appropriately. Treatment was delayed by approximately 48 hours. The words took a moment to land. You're saying someone made a mistake, Akosua said slowly. We're saying there was a gap in protocol. A gap that made my daughter sicker. The delay didn't ultimately affect her outcome, but it could have. Neither man responded. Akosua felt something cold settle in her chest. Why are you telling me this? We believe in transparency with our patients, Dr. Park said, which was obviously a lie. We wanted you to be aware. And we'd like to offer a settlement, a reduction in your bill, significantly reduced, in exchange for signing an agreement that this matter is resolved. There it was. You want me to sign something saying I won't sue you, Akosua said. We want to come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. How much of a reduction? 80%. You'd only owe $3 million. $3 million instead of 15. Still more than Akosua had, but manageable. Maybe. With a payment plan, with extra work, maybe. And if I don't sign? Dr. Park's expression hardened slightly. Then we proceed with standard billing. And you should know, Mrs. Mensah, that your insurance company may have questions about covering a treatment that resulted from, let's say, complicated circumstances. It was a threat. Barely veiled, but a threat. If she didn't sign, they'd find a way to make her insurance deny the claim. She'd owe the full amount, Probably more. I need to think about it, Akosua said. Of course. Take 24 hours. They left her in the consultation room, alone with a choice that wasn't really a choice. Akosua wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to march up to the 6th floor, and what? Ask Kang Jun-seo to fix this, too? Keep depending on a stranger's charity? No. She'd handled everything alone for 8 years. She could handle this. But first, she needed to understand what she was really dealing with. That evening, after Amma fell asleep, Akosua went looking for answers. She started with Nurse Park, the kind one who always took time to explain things. The delay in treatment, Akosua said carefully. Do you know what happened? Nurse Park glanced around, then lowered her voice. I shouldn't talk about it. Please, it's my daughter. The nurse hesitated, then sighed. The first imaging was reviewed by Dr. Han. He's the one who usually handles pediatric cardiology. But there was some confusion about whether insurance would approve further testing. By the time it was sorted out, 2 days had passed. Confusion about insurance, not about the diagnosis. I didn't say that. But her face said it clearly enough. Thank you, Akosua said quietly. She spent the next hour piecing it together. Conversations overheard, things half said by nurses, the timeline of Amma's care. The picture that emerged made her sick. They'd known what was wrong with Amma from day one. But because Akosua's insurance was basic, because she was a foreigner, because she didn't have money, they'd waited. Delayed treatment. Hoped maybe the problem would resolve itself, or she'd transfer to a cheaper hospital. Only when Jun-seo had intervened did they suddenly find the resources to help. And now they wanted her to sign away her right to hold them accountable in exchange for not bankrupting her. Akosua stood in the empty hallway, shaking with rage. Okay, I need to pause here for a second because this is getting intense. If you're feeling all these emotions with Akosua right now, if you're angry at this injustice, if you want to see what she does next, hit that like button. Let me know you're invested in this story, and don't go anywhere, because what happens next is going to surprise you. She went to the 6th floor. It was past 9 at night. The executive wing was dark except for one office. Of course. Akosua didn't hesitate. She walked straight to Jun-seo's door and knocked, hard. He opened it immediately, like he'd been waiting. Maybe he had been. They're trying to cover up their mistake, Akosua said without preamble. They delayed Amma's treatment because of insurance, and now they want to pay me off to keep quiet. Jun-seo's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went very cold. Come in. She stepped into his office. He closed the door and gestured to a chair. Akosua didn't sit. Tell me exactly what happened. She did. Every detail. The administrator's visit, the settlement offer, what she'd learned from the nurses. Jun-seo listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Did you know? Akosua asked. About the delay? Yes. Something in her chest cracked. You knew they almost killed her because of money, and you didn't tell me. I knew that telling you wouldn't change what happened, so I fixed it instead. Fixed it. They're offering me hush money, because they're afraid I'll fire them if this becomes public, which I will. That's not good enough. Her voice had risen. She forced herself to breathe. It's not good enough, she repeated, quieter. They need to be held accountable. People need to know this happened, so it doesn't happen to someone else's daughter. If you make this public, you'll get nothing, Jun-seo said. His voice was calm, factual. The hospital will fight you. You'll need lawyers you can't afford. It'll take years. And in the end, maybe you win, maybe you don't. Meanwhile, you'll still owe 15 million won, and you'll have made powerful enemies. So I should just take their bribe and let them get away with it. I'm saying you should think strategically. Is that what you do? Think strategically while people suffer? Yes. No hesitation. That's exactly what I do. It's how I survive. Akosua stared at him. That's horrible. That's reality. No. That's your reality. That's the world you've chosen. But it doesn't have to be mine. She turned to leave. Akosua. It was the first time he'd used her first name. She stopped but didn't turn around. If you fight this, he said quietly, you'll lose everything. Your job, your housing, maybe even custody, if they paint you as an unfit mother who can't provide. They have resources. You don't. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need justice. Justice doesn't pay your bills. Maybe not. But at least I'll be able to look my daughter in the eye. She left before he could respond. Back in Ama's room, Akosua sat in her cot, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation. Junseo was right about the practical realities. Fighting would be nearly impossible. She'd likely lose. But he was wrong about one thing. This wasn't just about her and Ama anymore. It was about every other mother who'd walk through these hospital doors, desperate and poor, and hoping for mercy. If she stayed silent, nothing would change. The next morning, Akosua told the administrator she needed more time to decide. 24 hours was what we agreed on, Dr. Park said. I need a week. That's not acceptable. Then I guess we don't have a deal. She said it calmly, without anger. The administrator's eyes narrowed. Mrs. Mensah, I don't think you understand the situation you're in. I understand perfectly. You made a mistake that endangered my daughter. Now you're trying to make it my problem. I need time to think about whether I want to help you with that. If you're considering legal action, I'm considering all my options. I'll let you know in a week. She walked out before he could argue further. It felt good standing up to him. It also felt terrifying. That afternoon, while Ama napped, Akosua got a text from an unknown number. Coffee shop across from hospital. 30 minutes. Minji! Akosua had no idea who Minji was, but something made her go. The woman waiting at a corner table was young, well-dressed, professional. She stood when Akosua approached. Mrs. Mensah, thank you for coming. I'm Minji, Mr. Kang's assistant. They shook hands. Akosua sat warily. Did he send you? No. He doesn't know I'm here. Minji glanced around, then leaned forward. I heard about the settlement offer. I wanted to give you some information. What kind of information? The kind that might help you make a decision. She slid a USB drive across the table. This has copies of internal emails about your daughter's case, including the ones where Dr. Han was explicitly told to delay treatment pending insurance verification. Akosua stared at the USB drive. Why are you giving this to me? Because what they did was wrong, and because I have a daughter too. If someone did this to her, I'd want to know the truth. Won't you get in trouble? Only if they find out it was me. I was careful. Akosua picked up the drive. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If you use this, it's going to get ugly. Mr. Kang was right about that. They'll come after you with everything they have. I know. Minji studied her face. You're going to do it anyway, aren't you? I don't know yet. But if I do, I want to be prepared. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. I think I'm probably crazy. Minji smiled. Sometimes that's the same thing. After she left, Akosua sat in the coffee shop, turning the USB drive over in her hands. She thought about Junseo's warning, about the practical reality that justice didn't pay bills. She thought about Ama, getting stronger every day, who deserved to grow up in a world where hospitals couldn't abandon sick children for money. She thought about the mothers who'd come after her, who wouldn't have a CEO to intervene on their behalf. Then she put the USB drive in her pocket and went back to the hospital. That night, Jun Seo came by Ama's room. Ama was awake, working on the puzzle he'd brought. She lit up when she saw him. "Mr. Kang, look, I finished the border. That's the hardest part. Well done." He glanced at Akosua. She was sitting in her chair, watching them, her expression unreadable. "Could we talk?" he asked. "I'm listening." "In private." Akosua looked at Ama, who waved her away. "Go talk. I'm busy." They stepped into the hallway. Jun Seo led her to a quiet corner, away from the nurse's station. "I was harsh last night," he said. "I apologize." "You were honest. That's different. Still, I shouldn't have assumed you'd prioritize safety over principle. But you think I should. I think principles are expensive, and you can't afford them right now." Akosua almost laughed. "You really don't understand, do you?" "Understand what?" "Some things matter more than money. You can't see that because you've always had money. That's not fair, isn't it? When have you ever had to choose between doing the right thing and surviving?" He was quiet. "That's what I thought," Akosua said. "This is my life. Every choice is survival. But that doesn't mean I stop caring about right and wrong. Even if caring destroys you, even then." Jun Seo looked at her like he was seeing something he'd never encountered before. "You're impossible. I've been called worse. I'm trying to help you. I know. But maybe I don't need the kind of help you're offering. What kind do you need?" Akosua met his eyes. "The kind where you trust me to make my own choices, even if you think they're wrong. And if your choices lead to disaster, then I'll handle it, like I've handled everything else." He studied her face, and she saw the moment something shifted in him, a decision being made. "All right," he said quietly. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. When you figure it out, tell me. Not so I can stop you. So I can help properly." It was the last thing Akosua expected. "Why would you do that?" "Because you asked differently, remember?" He paused. "And because I'm starting to think your way might be better than mine." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. "I have to go. Emergency board meeting." He looked back at her. "Be careful, Akosua." Her name in his voice did something strange to her heartbeat. "I will." She watched him walk away, then stood in the hallway for a long moment, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Something had shifted between them, something beyond gratitude and charity, something that felt dangerous and real. Back in Ama's room, her daughter looked up from her puzzle. "Mama, do you like Mr. Kang?" Akosua sat down. "What kind of question is that? You look different when he's here. Happy nervous. Happy nervous isn't a thing." "Yes, it is. I read about it in my book. It's when you're scared of something but want it at the same time." Akosua pulled Ama into a gentle hug. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just notice more when I'm sick." They laughed together, and for a moment everything else faded away. But later, after Ama slept, Akosua pulled out the USB drive and stared at it. Tomorrow, she'd make her decision. Tonight, she'd just be grateful her daughter was alive. The next day was Saturday, 1 week since Ama had collapsed at school. It felt like a lifetime ago. Dr. Kim came by during morning rounds with good news. Ama's recovery is exceeding expectations. If things continue this way, we can discuss discharge early next week. "Really?" Ama sat up excitedly. "Really? You're doing great, Ama." After he left, Ama turned to Akosua. "Mama, can we have a party when I go home? Just us? The biggest party. Whatever you want. Ice cream? A whole tub. And movies. Every single one you want to watch." Ama grinned, then her expression turned serious. "Mama, will we be okay? With the money and everything?" Akosua pulled her close. "Yes, baby. I promise. We'll be okay. She had no idea if it was true, but she'd make it true somehow. That afternoon, Akosua went to the business center in the hospital lobby and plugged in the USB drive. The files were exactly what Minji had promised. Emails between Dr. Han and the billing department. Clear, explicit instructions to delay expensive procedures until insurance status was confirmed. Responses from administration backing that policy. Evidence, undeniable evidence. Akosua downloaded everything to her email, then deleted the history from the computer. She had power now. The question was what to do with it. She was still sitting there, staring at the computer screen, when someone sat down in the chair next to her. Junseo. "You found evidence," he said. Not a question. Akosua closed the browser quickly. "How did you know?" "Minji has been unusually nervous around me for 2 days, and you have that look." "What look?" "Like you're about to do something that terrifies you." He turned the chair to face her. "Show me." Akosua hesitated, then reopened her email and turned the screen toward him. He read through the files in silence, his expression growing colder with each page. When he finished, he sat back. "This is worse than I thought." "You knew it was bad." "I knew there was negligence. I didn't know there was policy behind it." He looked at her. "With this, you could destroy careers, maybe even bring criminal charges. Or I could take the settlement and disappear. You won't, though." "How do you know?" "Because you're you." Something in the way he said it made her chest tight. "If I do this," Akosua said slowly, "if I go public, what happens to Amma's care?" "They can't legally retaliate by withholding treatment." "Legally? But practically?" Junseo was quiet for a moment. "Practically. They'll make your life difficult. Different doctors, longer wait times for appointments, insurance claims that mysteriously take months to process. So my daughter suffers either way." "Not necessarily." "What does that mean?" He stood. "It means I need to make some calls. Don't do anything yet. Give me 24 hours. Junseo, please. Trust me for one more day." He left before she could argue. Akosua sat there, frustrated and confused, and maybe a little bit hopeful, which was the most dangerous feeling of all. That evening, while Amma watched a movie on the tablet the hospital had provided, Akosua's phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Mrs. Mensah, this is Attorney Yang. I represent Hanseong Medical Center. I understand you're in possession of confidential hospital documents." Akosua's heart started pounding. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Please don't insult both our intelligence. Those documents were obtained illegally. If you attempt to use them, we'll pursue legal action against you for theft and corporate espionage." "I didn't steal anything." "Then how did you obtain internal emails?" "Someone gave them to me." "That person committed a crime, and you're complicit." Akosua felt the trap closing. "What do you want?" "Sign the settlement agreement by Monday morning. Destroy whatever files you have, and we all move forward." "And if I don't?" "Then we file charges. You'll be arrested, which means your daughter goes to Child Protective Services while you're detained. Is that really what you want?" The threat landed like a punch. Akosua's vision blurred. "You can't do that." "We can and we will. You have until Monday, 9 a.m. The line went dead. Akosua sat there, phone in hand, trying to breathe. They were going to take Amma. If she fought, they'd take her daughter away. She looked at Amma, laughing at something in the movie, completely unaware that her mother's world was collapsing. Akosua couldn't let that happen. She couldn't. Which meant she had no choice. She was going to have to sign. She called the number on Junseo's business card. Minji answered. "I need to speak to him," Akosua said. "He's in a meeting." "Now. Please." Something in her voice must have conveyed the urgency. Minji put her on hold. 2 minutes later, Jun Seo's voice came through. What happened? She told him about the lawyer's call, about the threat. They can't take Amma based on this, he said, but his voice was tight. Can't legally, or can't practically? Silence. That's what I thought, Akosua said. I'm going to sign. Monday morning, it's over. Wait. I can't risk her, Jun Seo. I can't. She's all I have. I know. Just don't sign anything until we talk, please. There's nothing to talk about. Akosua, she hung up. Then she sat next to Amma's bed and cried as quietly as she could. Sunday morning came gray and cold. Akosua woke up to knocking. She opened the door to find Jun Seo standing there with coffee and pastries. It's 6 a.m., she said. I know. Can I come in? Amma was still asleep. Akosua stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind her. You shouldn't be here, she said. Probably not. He handed her a coffee. But I am, anyway. Akosua took it, too tired to argue. The coffee was exactly how she liked it, which meant he'd been paying attention. I'm signing tomorrow, she said. I already decided. I know. I'm not here to change your mind. Then why are you here? Because I wanted you to know that I understand, and I'm sorry. Akosua looked at him, really looked at him. He was tired too, she realized. Shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders. Did you sleep at all? She asked. No. Why not? Because I was trying to find a way to fix this and I couldn't. He said it like a confession. I have all this power, all these resources, and I couldn't protect you. It's not your job to protect me. Maybe I want it to be. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Akosua's breath caught. Jun Seo. I know. I know this is complicated. I know we barely know each other. I know you have every reason to walk away from me and this hospital and never look back. He stepped closer. But before you sign tomorrow, before this ends, I needed you to know that meeting you changed something in me. Changed what? Everything. The way I see my work, my life, what actually matters. You walked into my office and made me feel something real for the first time in years. Akosua couldn't breathe. This is a bad idea. I know. We're from completely different worlds. I know that too. Then why? Because different doesn't mean impossible. He was so close now. Close enough that she could see the exact shade of brown in his eyes, could smell his cologne, could feel the warmth of him. I don't know how to do this, Akosua whispered. I don't know how to let someone in. Neither do I. We can figure it out together. For one perfect moment, Akosua let herself imagine it. A world where she didn't have to carry everything alone, where someone stood beside her, not to save her, but just to be there. Then Amma coughed inside the room, and reality crashed back. I have to go, Akosua said. I know. But neither of them moved. Tomorrow, Jun Seo said quietly. After you sign, have dinner with me. Just once. Let me take you somewhere that isn't this hospital. I can't afford, as my guest. Please. Akosua knew she should say no. Knew getting closer to him would only make everything harder. But she was so tired of hard. Just once, she wanted something soft. Okay, she said. One dinner. His smile transformed his whole face. One dinner. He left, and Akosua leaned against the wall, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Monday morning arrived too fast. Akosua dressed carefully in the one nice outfit she owned, a simple black dress she'd bought for job interviews years ago. She braided her hair, put on the small gold earrings her mother had given her before she died. Amma watched her get ready. You look pretty, Mama. Thank you, baby. Where are you going? Just to sign some papers. I'll be back in an hour. About the hospital money? Akosua knelt beside the bed. Yes, but don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. Because of Mr. Kang? What? He helps us, so everything will be fine. Akosua hugged her daughter. Yes, because of Mr. Kang. It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. The meeting was in the administrator's office. Dr. Park was there, along with Attorney Yang and 2 other men in suits Akosua didn't recognize. Mrs. Mensah, thank you for coming, Dr. Park said, like this was a social visit. Please, sit. Akosua sat. The settlement agreement was already laid out on the desk. As discussed, we're reducing your total bill to $3 million in exchange for your signature, Attorney Yang said. We've also included a standard non-disclosure agreement and a release of all claims. Akosua picked up the papers. The legal language was dense, but the meaning was clear. Sign this. Never speak about what happened. Go away. Do you have any questions? Dr. Park asked. Akosua thought about the emails on that USB drive, about every mother who'd come after her, about justice versus survival. She picked up the pen. The door opened. Jun Seo walked in, followed by Minji, and 3 people Akosua didn't know. Dr. Park stood. Mr. Kang, this is a private meeting. Not anymore. Jun Seo gestured to one of the people behind him, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes. This is Attorney Choi. She represents Mrs. Mensah as of this morning. Akosua stared. What? Attorney Choi stepped forward. Mrs. Mensah, I've reviewed your case. You don't need to sign this. But they said, they lied. The documents you received were provided by a whistleblower, which is protected activity. They can't press charges without exposing their own misconduct. Attorney Yang's face went red. That's not... It's exactly true, and you know it. Attorney Choi cut him off. She turned to Akosua. You have options, real options, but only if you don't sign that paper. Akosua looked at Jun Seo. He nodded slightly. She put down the pen. Mrs. Mensah, I strongly advise. Dr. Park began. No, Akosua said. Her voice was steady. I'm not signing. The room went silent. Then we'll see you in court, Attorney Yang said. Actually, you won't, Jun Seo said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Here's what's going to happen instead. Hansung Medical will forgive Mrs. Mensah's entire medical bill. You'll implement new policies to prevent insurance-based treatment delays. And you'll establish a fund for low-income patients who can't afford care. Dr. Park laughed. And why would we do any of that? Because if you don't, I'll make sure every news outlet in Seoul has copies of those emails by tonight. I'll personally testify about the systemic negligence in this hospital. And then I'll recommend to the board that we replace the entire administrative team. You can't do that. You're CEO, not... I'm CEO, and I own 40% of the voting shares. My family owns another 30. Want to guess how they'll vote when I explain what happened to an 8-year-old girl under your watch? The silence this time was different, heavier. Dr. Park looked at Attorney Yang. Attorney Yang looked at his papers. We'll need time to consider, Dr. Park started. You have until end of business today, Jun Seo said. Attorney Choi will send over the formal proposal. Sign it, or I go public. Your choice. He turned to Akosua. Can I walk you out? She nodded, still in shock. They left the office together. Minji and Attorney Choi stayed behind to handle details. In the hallway, Akosua finally found her voice. What just happened? I told you I'd help properly. You threatened to destroy your own hospital. I threatened to fix my hospital. There's a difference. Jun Seo, you can't just... Yes, I can. And I did. He stopped walking and turned to face her. They hurt someone I care about. Did you really think I'd let that stand? Someone I care about. Akosua's heart was beating so fast she thought he might hear it. This is too much, she said. The lawyer, the demands, all of it. I can't pay you back for this. I don't want you to pay me back. Then what do you want? I already told you. Dinner. Tonight, if you're still willing. That's it? Dinner? For now. We can figure out the rest as we go. Akosua laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. You're impossible. You said that before. It's still true. He smiled. Is that a yes to dinner? Before she could answer, her phone rang. The nurse's station. Mrs. Mensah, Amma's asking for you. Nothing wrong, she just wants to show you something. I'll be right there. She looked at Junseo. I have to. Go. I'll see you tonight. 7? I don't even know where. I'll pick you up here. Wear something. Comfortable. He left before she could overthink it. Akosua went back to Amma's room in a daze. Her daughter had drawn a picture. 3 stick figures holding hands. 1 big, 1 small, 1 in between. Who are they? Akosua asked, though she already knew. That's you, and me, and Mr. Kang. We're a team. Akosua pulled Amma into a hug and held on tight. By 5 p.m., Attorney Choi called. They signed everything, she said, and Akosua could hear the smile in her voice. Your bill is cleared. The policy changes will be implemented within 30 days, and the patient fund will launch next quarter. Akosua sat down hard. It's really over? It's really over. You won, Mrs. Mensah. After she hung up, Akosua just sat there, letting it sink in. She'd won. Amma was safe. They weren't drowning in debt. And maybe, just maybe, she'd helped make sure this wouldn't happen to someone else. Amma was napping, peaceful and healing. Akosua looked at her daughter and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. At 6:30, she started getting ready for dinner. She didn't have many options for what to wear. The black dress was too formal. Everything else was work uniforms or old jeans. She settled on a simple blue top and her best pair of pants, the ones without any stains. Did her hair down for once. A little bit of the makeup she saved for special occasions. Amma woke up and watched. Mama, you look beautiful. You think so? Mr. Kang will think so, too. This isn't, we're just having dinner. Uh-huh. Amma grinned. Just dinner with someone you like. I do not like him. Your face is red. Go back to sleep, you troublemaker. Amma giggled and snuggled into her pillows. At 7 exactly, Junseo appeared at the door. He wasn't in a suit for once. Just dark jeans and a simple sweater. He looked younger like this, more real. Hi, he said. Hi, Akosua replied. They stood there awkwardly for a moment. Amma broke the silence. Mr. Kang, are you taking my mama on a date? Amma! Akosua's face went hot, but Junseo just smiled. Would that be okay with you? Yes. She deserves fun. She never has fun. Then I'll make sure she has fun tonight. He said it seriously, like it was a promise. They left Amma with Nurse Park, who'd volunteered to check on her every hour. Akosua left detailed instructions, her phone number, backup numbers, what to do if Amma needed anything. She'll be fine, Nurse Park assured her. Go, enjoy yourself. I've never left her alone in the hospital before. She's not alone, and you'll be back in a few hours. Go. Junseo's car was waiting outside. Not a company car this time. Something smaller, personal. He opened the door for her. Akosua slid into the passenger seat, feeling strange and nervous and excited all at once. Where are we going? She asked as he started driving. Somewhere I think you'll like. That's not an answer. It's a surprise. They drove through Seoul at night, the city lit up and alive. Akosua watched the streets pass, trying to calm her racing heart. Thank you, she said suddenly. For today. For everything. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. What you did, standing up to your own hospital, you didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Why? He glanced at her. because it was the right thing to do. You taught me that. I didn't teach you anything. You taught me that some things matter more than efficiency, that people are worth fighting for, that being powerful means nothing if you don't use it to help. He paused. You taught me how to be better. Akosua didn't know what to say to that. They pulled up to a small restaurant tucked between bigger buildings. The sign was in Korean, but through the window, Akosua could see warm lighting and wooden tables. It's not fancy, Junseo said, but the food is incredible. My mother used to bring me here when I was young, before things got complicated. The fact that he'd brought her somewhere personal, somewhere that meant something to him, made Akosua's chest tight. Inside, the owner greeted Junseo like an old friend. They were seated at a corner table, quiet and private. Do you trust me to order? Junseo asked. Should I? I promise nothing weird, just good food. Okay, he ordered in Korean, talking with the owner about dishes Akosua didn't recognize. But she liked watching him like this, relaxed, smiling, different from the controlled CEO she'd first met. What? He asked, catching her staring. Nothing. You just seem different here. Good, different, or bad, different. Good, real. I'm always real with you. Are you? Yes. You make it impossible to be anything else. The food started arriving. Small plates of vegetables, grilled meat, soup, rice. Everything smelled amazing. Try this, Junseo said, pointing to something Akosua didn't recognize. She took a bite. Flavor exploded on her tongue, spicy and savory and perfect. Oh, that's good. He looked pleased. I'm glad you like it. They ate and talked, about everything and nothing. Akosua told him about Ghana, about her family, about how she'd ended up in Seoul. He told her about growing up in a family that saw children as investments, about learning to hide his feelings so young he'd forgotten how to access them. Until you, he said quietly. Okay, real quick before we get to what happens next, if you've made it this far in the story, if you're feeling all the butterflies and hoping these two find their way to each other, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. I've got so many more stories like this one, stories about love and hope, and people who refuse to give up. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what comes next. All right, back to Akosua and Junseo. I didn't do anything special, Akosua said. You were yourself, honest and fierce and unafraid to call me out when I was wrong. Do you know how rare that is? People must tell you you're wrong all the time. People tell me what they think I want to hear. You tell me the truth. The truth isn't always nice. No, but it's real. And I'll take real over nice every time. After dinner, they walked. Just wandered the neighborhood, no destination, just moving through the cool night air. Can I ask you something? Akosua said. Anything. What happens now? After tonight? What do you want to happen? I don't know. This is all so new and complicated. You're my daughter's doctor's boss. I cleaned your office building. There's so much that doesn't make sense about this. Since when does anything about us make sense? He stopped walking and turned to face her. From the moment you walked into my life, nothing has made sense. And I don't care. You should care. I have a daughter. I work 2 jobs. Or I did before I lost one. I have nothing to offer you. You have everything to offer me. He stepped closer. You showed me what it means to fight for something that matters. To be brave even when you're terrified. To choose right over easy. That's not nothing, Akosua. That's everything. She looked up at him. This man who'd somehow become important to her in just over a week, and felt something shift inside her. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? Of this. Of trusting someone. Of needing someone and then losing them. I can't promise you won't lose me, Junseo said softly. but I can promise I won't leave easily. And I can promise that whatever this is between us, it's worth exploring. How do you know? Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Akosua's breath caught. Junseo reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he took her hand. His palm was warm against hers, solid, real. "One step at a time," he said. "No pressure, no expectations. Just let's see where this goes." Akosua looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. "Okay," she whispered. "One step at a time." He smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. They walked back to the car hand in hand, and Akosua felt lighter than she had in years. Back at the hospital, they stood outside Ama's room. "Thank you for tonight," Akosua said. "I can't remember the last time I felt normal. Thank you for saying yes. When will I see you again?" "Tomorrow, and the day after that. And every day you'll let me." "You're very sure of yourself." "No, I'm very sure of you." He squeezed her hand once, then let go. Akosua watched him walk away, then went inside. Ama was awake, reading her book. She looked up with a knowing smile. "Did you have fun?" "Yes, baby, I had fun." "Was it a good date?" "It was a good dinner." "Mama, you can call it a date. I won't tell anyone." Akosua laughed and hugged her daughter. "How are you feeling?" "Good. The nurse said maybe I can go home in 3 more days. 3 more days, that's wonderful. And then we can have our party. The biggest party." Ama yawned. "Mama, can Mr. Kang come to our party?" "Maybe, if he's not too busy." "He'll come. He likes us." "How do you know?" "Because he looks at you the way people look at each other in movies. Like you're the most important thing in the whole world." Akosua's throat tightened. "When did you get so grown up?" "I'm 8.5, practically ancient." They laughed together, and Akosua helped Ama settle in for sleep. Later, lying on her cot, Akosua thought about everything that had happened. 1 week ago, she'd been on her knees begging for help. Now, her daughter was healing, her bills were cleared, and she'd somehow found something she hadn't been looking for. Connection, hope, maybe even the beginning of love. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, but she knew who it was. "Sleep well. See you tomorrow." She smiled and typed back. "You too." 3 days later, Ama was discharged. Dr. Kim went over all the instructions, the medications, the follow-up appointments. "She's doing remarkably well. Just take it easy for a few weeks. No strenuous activity. And she should make a full recovery." "A full recovery?" Akosua repeated, hardly believing it. "A full recovery," he confirmed. They packed up Ama's things, the books and puzzle from Junseo, the drawings she'd made, the stuffed animal one of the nurses had given her. As they were leaving, Nurse Park hugged them both. "Take care of each other." "We will," Akosua promised. Outside, Junseo was waiting by his car. "I thought you might need a ride home," he said. Ama ran to him, and he caught her in a gentle hug. "Careful, you're supposed to take it easy." "I know, but I'm so happy to leave. No offense to the hospital." None taken. He drove them home, carrying their bags up to the tiny apartment. Akosua felt suddenly self-conscious about the cramped space, the worn furniture, how different it was from what he was used to. But Junseo just looked around and said, "It's nice. Warm." Ama gave him the grand tour, all 3 rooms, which took about 2 minutes. Then she announced she was tired and wanted to nap. "In my own bed," she said happily. After she was settled, Akosua walked Junseo back outside. "Thank you for the ride," she said. "Anytime," he hesitated. "Can I see you this weekend? Just us?" "I'd like that. I'll pick you up Saturday." "Noon?" "Okay." He started to leave, then turned back. "Akosua." Yes? I know this is all new and scary, but I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to hold you to that. Please do. Saturday came bright and clear. Akosua left Amma with another Ghanaian mother in their building, someone she trusted completely. Amma was thrilled to have a playdate with her friend. Jun Seo picked her up at noon exactly. Where are we going this time? Akosua asked. You'll see. They drove out of the city, into the hills. The scenery changed, buildings giving way to trees, noise giving way to quiet. He pulled up to a small park with walking trails and a view of the mountains. I come here when I need to think, he said. Thought you might like it. They walked together, slowly, enjoying the fresh air and sunshine. Found a bench with a perfect view, and sat. I could get used to this, Akosua said. Good, because I plan to bring you back often. She looked at him. You're really in this, aren't you? This isn't just, I don't know, a whim. I don't do whims. When I commit to something, I'm all in. That's a little intense. Is that a problem? No. Just different. Good. Different. He took her hand. I know we're taking it slow. I know there's a lot to figure out. But I need you to know that I see a future here. With you. With Amma. If you want that too. Akosua's heart was pounding. I want that. It terrifies me. But I want it. We can be terrified together. She laughed. That's very romantic. I'm new at this. Give me time to improve. You're doing fine. They sat there, hands joined, watching the mountains, and Akosua felt something settle in her chest. Peace. Safety. Home. Not a place this time. A person. Weeks turned into months. Amma recovered fully, went back to school, thrived. The hospital implemented the new policies. 3 other families came forward with similar stories, and changes were made hospital-wide. Akosua found a new job, a better one, with actual benefits and reasonable hours. Jun Seo helped with connections, but she earned it on her own merit. And slowly, carefully, they built something real. Dinners turned into weekend trips. Hand-holding turned into soft kisses. Careful distance turned into genuine intimacy. Amma adored him. Jun Seo adored her right back. Is it weird that he feels like family already? Amma asked one night. No, baby. I feel that too. Good. Because I think we should keep him. Akosua laughed. We'll see. But she knew. She'd known for a while now. 6 months after that first desperate plea in the hallway, Akosua stood in Jun Seo's apartment, looking out at the Seoul skyline. He came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking? He asked. That 6 months ago I thought my life was ending, and now everything is different. Better different? The best different. He turned her around to face him. I love you. I should have said it weeks ago, but I wanted to be sure you were ready to hear it. Akosua looked into his eyes. This man who'd saved her daughter, and somehow saved her too, and felt completely certain. I love you too. He kissed her, soft and sweet, and full of promise. When they broke apart, Akosua rested her forehead against his. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For listening. That first day, when I asked you to save my daughter, you could have had security throw me out. But you listened. How could I not? You were the most honest thing I'd seen in years. Still, you changed our lives. No, we changed each other's lives. That's better. And he was right. This wasn't a rescue story. It was a partnership. 2 people from different worlds who'd found something real in the space between. It wasn't perfect. They still had hard days, cultural differences, family complications, the normal struggles of building a relationship. But they had each other, and Amma, and hope. And somehow, that was everything. 1 year later, Akosua stood in the same hospital where it all began. But this time, She wasn't a desperate mother begging for help. She was the keynote speaker at the hospital's annual gala, telling her story, raising awareness about healthcare inequality. Jun Seo sat in the front row, watching her with pride. Amma sat next to him, wearing a fancy dress, beaming at her mother. "And that's why I'm partnering with Hanseong Medical to establish the Amma Fund," Akosua concluded. "Named after my daughter, who survived because someone chose compassion over policy. This fund will ensure that no parent has to beg for their child's life. That healthcare is a right, not a privilege." The applause was thunderous. Afterwards, at the reception, people kept coming up to thank her, to share their own stories, to ask how they could help. Jun Seo appeared at her side with champagne. "You were incredible. I was terrified. Couldn't tell at all." Amma tugged on Akosua's dress. "Mama, can we go home now? My feet hurt." Akosua laughed. "Yes, baby. Let's go home." Home was a new apartment now, bigger, with a room just for Amma. Not Jun Seo's place, not yet. They were taking their time, doing things right. But he spent most nights there anyway, and his toothbrush had a permanent spot in the bathroom. That night, after Amma was asleep, they sat on the couch together. "I've been thinking," Jun Seo said. "About what?" "About the future, about us." Akosua's heart started beating faster. And I know we're taking things slow. I know there's no rush. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you and Amma. Whenever you're ready, however you want it to look, I'm in." Akosua turned to face him fully. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "Not yet. Not officially. Just letting you know my intentions, so you can think about it." "I don't need to think about it." He looked uncertain for the first time she could remember. "No?" "No, because I already know my answer." "And?" "Ask me properly and find out." He laughed, pulled her close, and kissed her soundly. "Soon," he promised. "I'll be waiting." And she would be, because this man, this complicated, intense, wonderful man, had become her partner in every way that mattered. Not because he saved her daughter, though he had. Not because he solved her problems, though he'd helped, but because he saw her, really saw her, and chose her anyway. That night, as Akosua drifted off to sleep, she thought about that moment in the hallway, when she'd fallen to her knees and begged for help. She'd thought she was asking him to save her daughter, but really, she'd been asking for so much more. For hope, for justice, for connection, and somehow, impossibly, she'd found it all. The story could have ended tragically, with medical debt and loss and despair. Instead, it ended with love, with family, with two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way and built something beautiful from it. Not a fairy tale. Real life was messier than that, but real and true, and worth every difficult step. Akosua smiled in the darkness and reached for Jun Seo's hand. He squeezed back, even in sleep. And she knew, whatever came next, they'd face it together. Before we wrap up, I want to thank you for going on this journey with Akosua, Amma, and Jun Seo. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in second chances and unexpected love, please subscribe to the channel. And drop a comment telling me what part moved you the most. Your support means everything. Until next time, remember that sometimes the best love stories start with the bravest ask. See you in the next one.